Welcome to Behind the Spires. I'm Ed, and this is...
I'm Molly, and we are your friendly city employees.
Yes, come join us behind the Spires, where we bring the business of Frederick forward. And we highlight updates on Frederick's projects, policies, and events.
Now I'm doing the choreography with you.
Well, of course, it's gonna be a national craze.
Each week, we're bringing a very special guest behind the Spires. And this week is no exception. We have
the most special
guest, Frederick Police Department Chief Jason Lando. I'm really, really excited for this one.
Me too.
Yes.
Me too.
So get ready, folks.
Yes. And if you're not watching us on video today, catch our lovely mugs on YouTube at City of Frederick, Maryland. Of course, you can also listen to us at Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, and other podcast services.
Yeah, guys, follow us and like it. If you do enjoy watching it or listening to it, please like it, but also follow us on every platform. And a couple of things before we jump into today's episode that I want to talk about really quickly. We wanted to kind of acknowledge what's going on right now. Frederick is home to many, many federal employees and contractors. So we wanted to acknowledge the transitions that people are going through that can often bring challenges. We support all residents and their families impacted by changes in federal employment and shifts in federal funding. You guys have probably seen stuff come out of our governor's office and then also Department of Labor, but we wanted to create a page on our website where you can access resources at the federal, state, and local levels. So they have, we have listed different links you can check out, job opportunities, career resources, and also just like City of Frederick offerings. So different offerings from our HHS department, different offerings from Parks and Rec. I mean, additionally, we work for the city and it's kind of an amazing place to work.
I believe it is.
So we also have our city job openings. So please check that out. It's on our homepage. And come work with us. Come be on the podcast.
Yes.
So just wanted to give that a highlight so people can check that out. And of course, we want to hear from everybody too. But definitely check that out.
So we do have a new business shout out this week.
Tell me all about it.
We have True Standard Distilling.
Oh.
Ashley and Brian, the owners, have recently completed a 3-year renovation of the latest venture to craft beverage scene in downtown Frederick.
Sounds exciting.
Yes.
Okay.
They are located at 10 North Carroll Street, and True Standard Distilling is currently working on distilling spirits and aging rum for a product that's worth the wait.
Oh.
While the production process is underway, the distillery is hosting pop-up events and tours. When they officially open in the spring, guests will be able to savor rum and vodka in sophisticated cocktails, enjoy drinks on the rocks in the tasting room, and receive a hands-on tour with the head distiller. If you're planning an event, True Standard is ready to help you create something remarkable for your guests. True Standard features beautiful views of their Vendome copper still, a caterer's kitchen, and a stunning 28-foot bar.
Oh my goodness.
So follow True Standard Distilling on social media to be the first to know about pop-up events and tours.
That sounds very exciting.
I'm going to give it a shot.
You should give it a shot. And you definitely guys want to follow them on social media, like Ed said. So they have like a very cute reel up I saw. And I know that they're going to be putting a lot of updates on there. So when they open and all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, while you're following them, follow us.
Ooh, follow us. Okay, so I think we'll be right back, and we'll be right back with Chief Lando.
Yes, Chief Lando.
Are you ready?
Are you ready?
We'll be right back.
Planting a tree is single-handedly one of the best things that you can do for our community. By planting a native tree, you help improve the quality of the air and the water around you. A tree is simply a good investment. It helps increase your home's value, it shades your backyard, and it makes it look really beautiful too. So, buy a tree today from Tree Frederick for $30 and help our city grow sustainably.
Okay, guys, welcome back to Behind the Spires. As promised, we have the most special of all special guests. Welcome to Chief Jason Lando.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us. We want to jump right in and get to some really hard-hitting questions. But before we do that, we have a nice one. What inspired you to pursue a career in law enforcement?
This goes way back to when I was a little kid. I wanted to be a cop. I lived next to one of the city police stations in Pittsburgh. That's where I was born and raised. And I just remember seeing the police cars coming and going and the officers in their uniforms. And, I was infatuated with it. And then from a very young age, I started watching the TV show Cops. And this wasn't like a noble thing or anything.
Okay.
I wanted to be on the TV show Cops when I was a little kid.
I love it.
And so I played cops and robbers with my two best friends. And we did a pinky promise and swore we were going to grow up and be crime fighters. And I tell them, unfortunately, they didn't make anything of themselves. They're both surgeons.
And that was going to be my question.
I'm the only one. I'm the only one that went to the police academy.
Oh my gosh, you kept your promise.
Yeah, but like from the time I was 5 years old, I knew I wanted to do this.
Oh, that's kind of fantastic. I used to play cops and robbers. Did you?
A little bit. Yeah, the Cowboys, but
Yeah, my brother did the same thing. He was like obsessed with G.I. Joe, and he went into the army. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, my one friend, the one surgeon, and I won't say his name.
Yeah.
But we were at a candy store once, like a pay by the pound. And when we were like little kids, and he took a piece of candy, and when I discovered that, I marched him back in there and made him pay for it. He reminds me to this day. He's like, I just knew.
He knew. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You had it in you. Yes.
Yep.
Amazing.
well, I think he learned a pretty good lesson that day. But throughout your career, what lessons have you learned along the way?
I think two things. One is, as a police officer, the importance of really being well-rounded. And I tell this to my younger officers now, not to get yourself like pigeonholed or being known for just doing one thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things we have to do every day in this profession. So I said, hey, if you like doing traffic enforcement, that's great. But don't just do traffic enforcement. If you like doing community outreach, that's so badly needed. But don't just do that. There's so many different things. So really for our officers to be well-rounded and be able to do a whole bunch of different things, that's something I learned. And the other thing is to be empathetic. The one thing I've learned over the years, especially when I became a crisis negotiator younger in my career, is everybody is suffering in some way at some point in their lives. And that's typically when we come into contact with them. So whether it's someone who stole something or got into a fight or whatever, people have to be held accountable. Like when they mess up, they have to be held accountable. But there's a way to do it where you're still treating them like a human being and you're still being empathetic. And when you sit down and you talk to people, like really talk to them for a while, a lot of times you realize that some of the people we deal with are just in a really difficult place in their life. And so, whether it's a mother who's stealing baby formula from Target, it's not okay to steal, but that mom needs something besides jail time.
Yeah.
And so really like getting to know the people you're interacting with and being empathetic, I think. So those are two really important things I've learned.
That's a breath of fresh air. I think what the world needs now is more empathy. So that's a fantastic answer. So I want to go back to when you arrived in Frederick in 2021. You were pretty quickly thrust into the national news cycle with the tragic shooting tied to Fort Detrick. So talk to us a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, so this was not something I was expecting, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I was told during the interview process, oh, Frederick's a quiet town.
Sleepy town.
So definitely not expecting that. But it was something I was prepared for. And not specific to Frederick, but just in general. The assignments that I worked in Pittsburgh prior to coming here, I worked in a very, very busy, very fast-paced district. I found myself most days of the week doing street corner media interviews at a shooting scene.
Oh, really?
An officer-involved incident. My last few years, I ran the narcotics and vice unit, and we were chasing fugitives on a daily basis. And so I regularly interacted with the media. So I kind of felt like, that was kind of in my wheelhouse. Like when I saw the TV cameras setting up across the street, I'm like, oh yeah,
familiar.
I used to do this every day.
Yeah.
Very, very thankfully, the two people that were injured that day recovered fully, and that's the most important thing. But yeah, it's certainly not something you ever want to have happen. But it was just something that kind of I dealt with on a regular basis back home.
Yeah, our producer Lance brought it up. He's like, "Did you know that he was like literally actually thrust into the net?" I was like, "Oh my gosh!"
So I'll share something kind of funny with you. So all the cameras are lined up across, I think it was Monocacy, and I mean they had like Fox and CNN and like all these national affiliates, and they didn't know that this was like my second or third week on the job.
Oh my gosh!
And one of the reporters, when it was his turn to ask a question, he said, "So where's Fort Detrick in relation to where we are right now?"
Oh no!
And I felt like I did a pretty good job at the press conference itself, but then he asked that question on camera, and I went, "I don't know. Let me ask." And I turn around, and he came up to me afterwards, and he goes, "Chief, with all due respect, how do you not know where the military base is in your city?" And I go, "Because I've only been here for 2 weeks. I barely know how to get to work without a GPS." And he started laughing, and he told me he would cut that, but I think he played. I think that
You probably played it.
Yeah, I think he played it. So there's probably a lot of people that think that the police chief doesn't know where the military base is in his own city. But I promise, if that's the camera that's on me right now, I promise I know where Fort Detrick is. I was brand new at the time.
That's like my worst fear too, because I'm directionally challenged. So even if I have been somewhere for like 5 years, I'm like, that way, I think.
Well, and afterwards, someone said, "You should have just said over there."
Right.
And no one would have known.
Y'all feel great. This one.
That one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing.
Well, what do you see as the biggest public safety challenge facing Frederick today? And how is the police department addressing it?
So I will say in general, because I don't want my words to get minced. In general, violent crime is always the number one thing a police agency has to be concerned about.
Right.
With that in mind, we are very, I say lucky, it's probably not the best word, but we are, for lack of a better term, we're lucky here in Frederick that that's not something that we deal with on a daily basis. So when it does happen, when it does occur, it has to be our number one priority. But on a day-to-day basis, the two biggest, most prevalent things are mental health and traffic.
Oh.
So, right.
The first one, I was like, yeah. And the second, I'm like,
in the grand scheme of things, right? Like people are complaining about traffic, and rightfully so. We're a rapidly growing city. We are looking at ways to tackle that now. But if traffic complaints are your biggest complaints in a city of almost 90,000 people, you're in a pretty good place as far as the police go. I mean, there's a lot of cities our size that homicides are their number one issue.
Right.
So I would say we get a ton of traffic complaints as the city's growing. And then calls for service. As you listen to the police radio, we have a very significant percentage of our calls are mental health related. So we have people that are in crisis, suicidal, just struggling in some way. But those are the two kind of most prevalent issues we're dealing with right now.
Well, then I want to jump down because we have a question about how the police department is addressing mental health crises in the community. Like, how do you guys meet those, prepare for those, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so we're well into our starting our fourth year of our crisis response team. So locally, it's known as the Crisis Car Program.
Yep.
But more officially, it's CRT, our crisis response team. Often you'll hear of a co-responder model where a police officer is paired with a social worker or a social worker is paired with a medic. We have a unique program here. It's a tri-responder model. So every day, Monday through Friday, from 1 p.m. to 9 p.m., we have a team of 3 people that go out, and it's a police officer, a medic, and a therapist or a social worker. The 3 go out together, and they handle these calls. We started really small. We started 4 hours a day. We're up to 8 hours a day now. Our goal eventually is to get to somewhere between 12 and 16 hours a day, where we can staff the car. They go out and they handle these calls, and it helps everyone. It certainly helps the community. It helps the people in need, but it also helps our patrol officers who a lot of times when you look around the country, there are officers that are well-intended. They're just not equipped to deal with some of these mental health crises.
Right.
And they respond by using force,
right?
Trying to make an arrest when an arrest might not be the most appropriate way to deal with something. And either they end up getting hurt or they end up hurting someone else. And, it ends terribly for everyone. So we thought, let's put this team together and let them go out and creatively figure out how to handle certain calls. So it's been really neat to watch the team come together. We now have 2 of our officers where it is their full-time job. So there's a core group. We have 2 officers. There's a team of firefighters with Frederick County Fire Rescue and a team of social workers or therapists with Shepherd Pratt. And some form of some pairing of this group works together every day. And then they come together on a regular basis to train together and to practice de-escalation and stuff like that. So it's interesting when the program first started, I think a lot of people were like, well, how's this going to work? And now you hear officers get on the radio and say, hey, I'm out at a scene with this individual. They're having some mental health issues. Can you send the crisis card?
Wow. That was going to be the question of like, what feedback have you gotten from like the officers themselves and then like the public? Have you gotten any feedback on? So,
I would say at first the officers, the officers hear me say this a lot. There's 2 things we, don't like in policing, and that's the way things are right now and change.
Yeah.
So like when we were taking officers out of patrol and putting them into this program, it was, initially was like, hey, we need officers in patrol. What are we doing? This is another program that we're starting. But I felt really strongly that this was the right thing to do. And so now you see, I think a lot of officers are like, hey, thankfully we have the crisis car working today, so I don't have to handle that situation.
Right.
So it's been well received by officers. There was a learning curve, but by the community, it's been a huge win. And I think a lot of people either that have mental health issues or everyone has a family member or a friend that does. And so knowing that this resource is out there, I think puts a lot of people's minds at ease. Yeah. And we've had ride-alongs from all over. We have a young lady from Australia who's a medic in Australia who came to the United States and rode along with us on 2 separate occasions because she read an article in an EMS magazine about the Frederick program, and she came to ride with us. And so now anytime she comes back to the United States to visit, she comes to Frederick and she rides with the team because it's her passion, like the mental health, and she's trying to build a program like that.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So,
especially since it's like I feel like in the news too. It's just like that's all we've heard over the past couple of years, just like mental health crisis. And then how do you deal with it? And the fact that you guys have this like program that other people are coming to visit is incredible.
Yeah, it's been, and I'm so proud of the team that's out there every day doing the work. Yeah. I think like the leadership of all the departments came together to say, hey, this is valuable enough that we're going to dedicate resources and staffing. But it's the team that goes out there every day and deals with these sometimes very tense and uncomfortable situations where you're like, when I was a young officer, it would have been like, well, I have handcuffs, so I guess we'll just use those to solve the problem.
Right.
And now, you might have someone who's violent. And this team, their goal is, let's do everything we can to de-escalate, calm this person down so we don't have to put them in handcuffs because that's not going to solve their problem.
Right.
And then when the team's not out on calls, they do a lot of work behind the scenes to do follow-ups to make sure that the people that did receive services are continuing to get those services.
So. Very cool.
I did want to ask, it's a little bit different. With the changes in federal immigration policy under the new administration, how might these shifts affect local law enforcement efforts in Frederick? And can you kind of distinguish between the city and the county's responsibilities? Because we've been hearing some people just might not know the difference.
Yeah. So, we cover my police department, this police department covers the entire city of Frederick. Outside of the city is the county sheriff's office, and they're responsible for the law enforcement in the rest of the county outside of the city, with the exception of 2 other jurisdictions. There's 2 other local departments in the county, and that's Thurmont in the north and Brunswick in the south. So there's really 4 primary police departments. We have nothing to do with immigration, and I get asked this on a daily basis. So, people ask, well, what are your thoughts and what are your feelings? And what I say is local law enforcement plays no role in immigration. There is a federal agency who is, that's their task, just like there's the IRS, and we don't collect people's taxes.
Right.
So we right. So we just don't have anything to do with it. And, for me, the most important thing is that people feel comfortable picking up the phone and calling 911 when there's an emergency or there's a mental health crisis. And if the first thing on their mind is, are they going to ask me or someone in this house or a family member what my citizenship status is, you know what? I'm not going to call 911. Then people are going to get hurt or get killed. And we are going to see crime go up because people aren't going to be reporting crimes because they're going to be afraid to be victims or witnesses, serve as victims or witnesses. So, the feds do what they need to do, but we just don't play any part of that. And I don't want anyone, I keep reiterating that because what I don't want is someone to see a Frederick police car pull up in front of their house and think that we're there to deport them.
Right.
That's just never going to happen.
Yeah.
So that's the difference. I know that the other agencies in the county currently have that same policy out in the street. We don't ask people their citizenship questions, in the future. I don't know what the future is going to look like for those other agencies. I don't want to speak for them. I can only speak for FPD. But that's just not something that we do.
So in terms of addressing those fears, because we've heard it too from, people saying, well, I'm nervous if I call, then are they going to ask? Is it just reiterating, is it just communication out to the public? How can we help and how are you guys addressing those fears? Is it just extra communication?
Yeah, we have a wonderful working relationship with Centro Hispano, with the Asian American Center of Frederick. Just last week, we did a community forum on immigration at Hood College. Yeah. So it's just like repeating the message. We also have the MCLU at FPD, which is our multicultural liaison unit. So we have officers assigned to 5 different communities to serve as liaisons. In this particular scenario, 3 of the communities don't really apply to immigration. But we have our Hispanic liaison officer, our Asian American liaison officer, and then we also have our African American, our deaf and hard of hearing, and our LGBTQIA liaison officers. So those officers, their kind of their goal when they go out there every day is to build relationships in those specific communities. So let's say we have someone, in a Hispanic neighborhood who has a fear of picking up the phone and calling 911 and getting a random officer that shows up, but they know one of the liaison officers and they're comfortable confiding in that person. While that's not always the preferred method of contact, we want people to feel comfortable calling 911. We at least know that individual has a link to the Frederick Police Department.
Right.
So the MCLU program definitely helps us build those relationships. So the only thing I will say about that, because I don't want to be disingenuous, is if someone is arrested for a separate crime, typically it's a crime of violence or something more serious, and they are taken to the Frederick County Detention Center. Mm-hmm. In the detention center, when they fingerprint them and process them, if there is a detainer or there is a warrant for them related to immigration or deportation, it will be discovered at the detention center. So that is a function of Frederick County government. That is not our policy, but we use the Frederick County Detention Center. There's no city jail.
Right.
So the only time someone would encounter the Frederick Police Department and have to worry about immigration is if they are already under arrest for another crime and they're taken to the jail.
Okay.
Yep.
You have a good last question. I want you to...
Yeah, I think so. Kind of lighten things up a little bit, What are you most proud of with your work with the FPD?
So there's a couple of things. One of the things is seeing the Frederick community and how supportive they are of the police department is something that you don't see everywhere. You turn on the TV all across the country and you see sometimes some really nasty things. You come here to Frederick and our community loves its police department. So that's something that I'm really proud of. And that's because of the great work of the officers. And I say officers, but there's a lot of people behind the scenes in addition to the officers that make this work every day, and sometimes they're forgotten about. So our officers and our professional staff, they do such a great job every day that people love FPD. And every day they're dropping food off at the station and honoring the officers.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. And there's awards programs and stuff. And yes, they drop off donuts. Okay. We love donuts. I'm not going to lie. But But that's that's pretty powerful. And then seeing the way our officers treat the community, it makes it all. That's why we have the support that we have. So I'll come into work in the morning and I'll hear about a major happening or a major incident that happened the night before. And I'll go to my desk and, watch the body camera footage. And I just watch the officers and how they interact with people and how they treat people. And I'm like, wow, that's why the community loves us so much. I mean, the officers they always go the extra mile to take care of the residents here. And it's really cool to watch. And so if I ever have someone who's, I don't want to say anti-police, but if we have someone who's like questioning the intentions of our officers or how we run the department, I say, listen, just do me one favor. Give me 4 hours of your time. Go out with an officer on a ride along, and it will change the way you think about police. And every time, the Leadership Frederick group, the LFC program, they have the opportunity to all of them to do ride-alongs. And every LFC cohort, I get the emails afterwards that say, I just never thought, I never knew what your officers did or how they, all the things they do for the community, which I think goes back to the very first point about being well-rounded. The officers have to navigate a lot of different situations every day. And it might be, they might be, stopping at Big Brothers, Big Sisters to like engage with some young kids, at one point in time. And then an hour later, they're going out on a robbery call. And then an hour later, they have someone who's in a mental health crisis, and they have to work with the team to get that person resources. So being able to navigate all those things and do it really well, it just earns the agency so much credibility and so much respect. So
it's really special. Before we get to our very special segment, trivia, which I hope you're ready for, do you want to leave the residents with one last thought? I know you guys have a new headquarters opening soon, so could you give a little plug for that?
Yeah, so brand new headquarters.
Can't wait.
Really excited. We're looking around the end of May, beginning of June for the opening on that. Every other week, the design team gets the chance to, we have a meeting with everyone gets together for a meeting in the building, and then we get to walk through the building every other week. So we've been able to see it come to fruition.
It's exciting.
It's like really neat.
Your own house being built.
Yeah.
You get to see the pictures and stuff that go through.
It actually looks like a police station now. So that's pretty cool.
That's
initially
cool.
it was just an empty shell.
Yeah.
So that's coming together. We're going to have a community space in there on the first floor. So we can actually host events and training, which we can't do now in our current space. So it'll really help us, be even closer to the community. And so that's pretty neat. And we have a lot of good things going on. We are starting in the early phases of a drone as first responder program here. And it's going to really help keep our community even safer. Eventually, we're going to have drones that go out and respond to calls. They get there ahead of the officers, so the officers can actually see real-time video footage of what they're walking into.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and you're starting to see these pop up all over the country, but imagine an officer's leaving downtown to go out to a call on the far west side. It's going to take them some time, and let's say the call is for a fight. There's going to be a drone overhead within minutes, and it's going to be able to feed a link back to the dispatch center and to the officers, so they can see, what am I driving into? Like, are there weapons? Are there several people fighting? Is the fight over? And I don't have to go out there, so I can be available for other calls. Okay. So we call it DFR, or drone as first responder. That is in the works now. We're building that in incrementally. And then the one last thing I'll give a plug for is a new app that we're starting called Good Sam, short for the Good Samaritan app. And it'll be an app that allows individuals, when they call 911, the dispatch center can send them a link. They tap on the link, and it will actually start a live video feed. So if, let's say, you witness something happening, an accident, a crime occurring, you have the ability to actually show the dispatcher what's going on.
Whoa.
Yeah. So technology-wise, we have a lot in the hopper right now.
Rip it up.
Yeah, so it's we have a lot of good things on the horizon. So
and Good Sam is not named for the lovely Sam, public affairs specialist with the police department.
Well, I'm going to tell people it's named after our PIO.
Yeah.
But it's actually, I think, short for Good Samaritan.
All right, so, I guess.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Sorry, Good
Sorry,
Sam.
Sam.
Sorry, Good Sam.
Okay. Ready? Cue the sound effect for our quick round trivia. Are you ready? Okay.
We'll see.
Okay.
Now, I've offered this to the mayor and to Guyan. Guyan actually took some. So if you'd like, before you start questioning, take some hot sauce.
There is not a chance in the world that I'm going to do this.
Good job. I would not either. Okay. First question. Are you ready?
Yes.
In the film Die Hard, what is the profession of Bruce Willis's character, John McClane?
Police officer.
Can you get more specific?
LAPD officer.
NYPD. Oh, we'll take it. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. We'll give you half credit. Okay.
All right. Police canine units first emerged in which country during the 1890s?
I want to say it was the United States.
No. We would also take Germany.
I was gonna say Germany.
Okay, we'll give you another half point.
Okay.
You're definitely going to get this last one because you just had a birthday, and so I think you're around the age who would maybe watch this show. Bookum Dano is a catchphrase from which long-running police TV series?
Oh, that would be Hawaii Five.
Yeah!
There we go.
All right.
That was technically 2 out of 3, so that was pretty good.
Okay. One and a half out of 3.
1 out of 3. Yeah. Jason, thank you so much for being here with us
Yeah,
today.
thank you
We
so
really
much for having
appreciate
me.
it. That conversation was fantastic, and you answered so many great questions thoughtfully, so thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Yep, it was wonderful.
And we will be right back.
Here's the City of Frederick's Manager of Sustainability, Jenny Willoughby, with a water conservation tip.
Install low-flow fixtures in your home. If your home is old, you may have a look at all of your water faucets, your shower heads, and check them to see if they are low flow. You can easily replace them.
This April, join the National Mayor's Challenge for Water Conservation. Take the pledge today at mywaterpledge.com.
Yeah, you know.
And welcome back. While you guys were away, Molly had a really good alien voice. It was really funny.
And if you're lucky, it might come back. We'll see.
We'll see. That was a really good interview with Truth and
I love him.
That was really enlightening. Is the best way I can.
I think that the FPD is so special, and he highlighted why. I think that, everyone bringing in all these new innovations, but bringing in like the CRT stuff and, all of just like empathy, leading with empathy, being well-rounded, like all of that. I just was like, yes, tell me more.
Absolutely.
It was really inspiring.
The empathy, I feel, is like a key.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love it. Keeping us safe and being empathetic.
Yes. Now, for those of you who are watching on video today, we have this beautiful artwork behind us, but technically me right now.
Yeah, just Ed.
That is from our current Art in City Hall exhibition.
That's right.
Reflections of Resilience, Black Voices in Art. And it's on view at City Hall through March 5th.
Yes. So Layla, who is our art and culture director here, we mentioned it last episode, but she's putting together these Art in City Hall exhibitions each month. And this artwork in particular is paper collage on canvas called My Dear Fellow Clergymen by local artist Ted Luck. Luck studied history and art at the District of Columbia Teachers College and has attended art classes at Catholic University in D.C. and at the Delaplane Art Center here in Frederick. 2 other works by Ted are featured downstairs, technically, in Art in the City Hall exhibition alongside area artists. And we had one up last time, which was also so beautiful. So come check it out. There'll be this particular exhibition, Reflections on Resilience, Black Voices in Art, is going to be on view in City Hall, like Ed mentioned, until March 5th. Yeah. And then Layla is going to be having another Art in City Hall exhibition for Women's History Month.
That'll be good.
Yes, that'll be fantastic. Who Run the World? Girls. So we'll have that up and we'll be showcasing some of that artwork as we move forward.
But until then, I mean, this thing is really neat. It's got a bunch of news clippings in there.
It's beautiful. So if you are not on video, check us out on video.
Yeah. For all the businesses out there, March 12th, the City of Frederick's very own Gerard Bowens is hosting Doing Business with the City 101 here at City Hall at 10 a.m.
Yes. So ready to take your business to the next level and explore exciting contracting opportunities? Join the City of Frederick's Office of Equity and Inclusion for an exclusive learning series on doing business with the city 101. You do not want to miss it. I know I don't. Register now. You can email Gerard. The email is jbowens@cityoffrederickmd.gov. So again, that's March 12th.
March 12th.
March 12th. And then when are we having our next city council public meeting? You skipped that. You skipped right over that. I'm going to tell you because you had a look of panic in your eyeballs. And it is March 6th at 6 p.m. in City Hall. If you want to come check it out. Because we want the people to be involved.
Yes.
Okay, now back to our regular scheduled program.
Well, in March, we have some NAC meetings with our community engagement specialist, Shawan Brightful. You can
Lovely Shawan.
The lovely Shawan.
If you haven't checked out the Snow app.
Yes, you should go check out the Snow episode. Even though it's for snow, got some great information, especially on NACs.
Yes, that's right.
You can find the dates and locations for each NAC meeting on our website, cityoffrederickmd.gov.
Fantastic.
Our city parks and rec have a ton of events coming up.
Yes.
And on March 15th, we have an agricultural career exploration at Tally. March 22nd, there's an aquatic explorations hike at the Watershed. On April 5th, there's a fishing rodeo at Color Lake.
Yeah.
For the longest time, I thought a fishing rodeo meant someone had to go ride a fish for 8 seconds.
No, you didn't.
I did.
Don't believe that. And then what's the big event on April 19th?
The huge event they've got going is a recreation festival with egg hunts, the Tally Open House, Touch a Truck, Earth Day, like events and everything. It'll be at Baker Park and the Tally Rec Center. I love it. So it's going to be really busy and really fun.
But also, Parks and Rec, here's a spoiler alert, guys. They're going to be on our next episode. So we have, two folks from the rec part of Parks and Rec. And you guys are not going to want to miss it because Parks and Rec has so much stuff to offer. And so they're going to be highlighting some things. We did get an email about a topic about asking if we could highlight some services or programs for older adults in Frederick. Because they are the fastest growing population. And I think we will be doing more on that and providing more information. But, Parks and Rec has a ton of stuff for senior classes. So they will be highlighting some of that.
And I'm glad we got two people from the rec department because I don't know if we can fit a park in here.
But space. Okay, guys, when will that next podcast be dropping?
The next podcast will drop March 17th. And we want to hear from you, just like we heard about the lady who has the
questions about senior stuff.
Please email us at behindthespires@cityoffrederickmd.gov. That is
behindthespires@cityoffrederickmd.gov.
Right, behindthespires@cityoffrederickmd.gov. To let us know what you'd want to hear and what questions you have, or who you'd like us to interview.
Yeah.
Remember to like and subscribe to us on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and YouTube, of course. And also, before we dip back behind the spires.
Oh, I see what you did there.
We ask just one teeny tiny little favor. We ask that you tell your friends about us, about your time here at Behind the Spires. And if you get a chance, a simple 5-star review.
Just very simple.
Just simple. You can do that right in your podcast app even. So, your support will help us grow. And we'd really appreciate it.
Yes, guys. So thank you for hanging with us behind the spires. Ed, thank you for being the best co-host around. The best in the biz.
You're pretty good.
Oh, thank you. Pretty good. I'll take it.
Before we go, I want to thank you guys for hanging out with us behind the spires. And remember, kindness costs us nothing, but you know what? It means everything.
I love it. Bye, guys.